I'm your host, the Father Gamer. Today, there's some feedback, a little bit of feedback. Today we have some great people. This is our first indie game developers on the show, so that's pretty exciting. We have Harry and Yannick, and I believe there's one other individual in the room with them, but I hadn't got his name. But you guys,
Squavan.
Squavon.
Goran.
Okay, we're gonna go with that. So how are you guys doing?
We're good. Thanks for having us on the show, really. Really happy to be here and be able to talk about the game a bit.
No, absolutely. I've been excited about this ever since we talked probably 4 months ago on Twitter.
Yeah, is it really that long?
I think it has been that long, but I've been excited about this. Go ahead and introduce your guys' self so we can kind of get a name and voice familiarity and kind of tell us about yourself. We'll start with you, Harry.
All right. So I'm the I don't know, lead game mechanics engineer, whatever. We have no role titles, but what I do in the team is keeping a bit the vision together and building all the front end stuff and doing the graphics together with Alejo. And yeah, that's kind of my job. And on the side, 20% of me do this social media post stuff that you see occasionally. But yeah, too little by now.
Yeah, I'm Yannick. I'm one of the two backend engineers. My part is together with Harry to build the mechanics and do a lot of coding. Yeah.
Gotta love that coding, right?
Yeah.
My name is Goran. I'm the second engineer for the backend, and I don't do a lot of game mechanics. I leave this to the pros. I do more bit shifting and making sure that we can get most of our servers out and that the game runs well.
All right, awesome. I'm
That's
sorry.
That's the crew we have here right now, and then there's three other guys. Alejo doing a lot of the graphics and all that beautiful stuff that you see, and Bastian who wrote that. Everybody has read it, but it's on our Twitter, and really recommend to read that too. And Eddie who's doing the sounds, which are not in the demo so much yet, but we're on that. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We played the game a little bit earlier, and I had a lot of fun playing it, so I'm excited about it. Now, tell us about your game. Just kind of give us a brief idea of what it is, and we can go into different points and kind of dive into them deeper.
Okay, so the game, first of all, it's a math multiplayer game in a Zelda-like pixel style graphics. And the basic idea, which I think we will cover a lot more later, is for the game to employ emergent narrative and not having a pre-scripted story that's written by authors, but instead developing narrative between the players through the game mechanics. What you play, it's pretty much like combat style is like in the old Zelda games, probably from the Super Nintendo, like an old ARPG. And then there will be farming, crafting, trading, all that stuff, pretty much sandboxy and survival style, and very much focused on cooperation and on building groups and building societies, basically. That's how we think there can a lot of narrative happen, basically, in the game.
Absolutely. So in you guys' article, I read a little bit about it, and you guys talked about an emergent narrative. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, okay, emergent narrative. I think first of all, when we look at games, we have a lot of games with scripted narrative, where some author sat down, wrote a story, and that's basically what you play. And I think there's not really anything wrong with that approach. I had really nice games, played nice games like that, like the GTA series or Half-Life or whatever. Most of the games have, like, you play a bit, then you get a cutscene which tells you a bit more of the story. But as soon as you go into massive multiplayer games, it's becoming a bit ridiculous with that scripted story, because everybody does the same. Everybody saves the world. Everybody brings that golden shoe back to this princess, or collects 10 wolf hides, whatever happens with these wolf hides afterwards. I always wondered who needs that stuff. And emergent narrative on the other side is the kind of narrative that happens between the cutscenes. So the narrative that really comes from the game mechanics. So, for example, if you think of EVE Online, that's a really great example. We know about all these great heists and great stories that happened there, like huge wars between factions, or some guy who set up a bank and paid interest. No one knew how he paid that interest. Basically, it was a Ponzi scheme. Then he quit his account and transferred the money to another account and stole like thousands of dollars worth of in-game money and property, basically, from others. So,
which is pretty awesome, to be honest. I'd be one of those guys.
and it's not anybody who sat down and wrote this, like, okay, we have this thief story who steals stuff. Really, that guy really stole something, with all implications that the stuff he stole was valuable for someone before. Guys are pissed off now because it's gone, that he had to employ treason and trickery for it. So it has all real implications. Stealing, not like you play a story of somebody stealing stuff.
You
So
create your own story, essentially, right?
yeah, exactly. It's the narrative that really happens in the game due to the mechanics, basically.
Stuff that really, really happens.
Another great example for me. I never played EVE Online because it's horribly inaccessible, and if you don't do it like a job, you you don't get into
You
that.
fall behind quick.
Yeah. But another great example that I actually played was DayZ in the early days. Don't know if you played that.
I did. I did. I played DayZ a lot, but it was more the game. It wasn't the mod. So I don't know which one you mean.
Yeah, I mean, when it was a mod in the early days, there were a lot of people, like, some people playing it came from the shooter side, and some came from the role playing side. And that, I think, due to the mechanics, after some time the shooter side took over too much and the role playing guys were driven away. But in this really interesting beginning, there were extremely intense and interesting stories that appeared. Like, you have your crappy gun, and suddenly you stand in front of someone and you hold your gun up and you say, okay, take down your gun, and the other guy says, no, take down your gun. All that's happening in your mind is really just like in this classic scene from any zombie movies, where you don't want to shoot that guy, but if he doesn't take down his gun first, you will, and he thinks the same, and it's really, I don't know if I had intense emotions in a game before, like in these situations in DayZ.
Like in WoW, when all the open world PvP that was happening, all the gang that takes place, and this interaction between players, and every interaction between players has some kind of narrative in these fields. You're pissed off because this guy keeps you from grinding, but in the end you have a great time fighting with him over the territory, and yeah, this comes up, and if don't hinder this stuff by restricting things.
Yeah,
and it will happen.
and in my mind, it makes me think you're gonna have more of a drive for that story because that's you have more of an impact for it. It impacts you more other than like a storytelling. You're just following the story, but this this emergent narrative, you are part of that story. You are one of the people that actually got ripped off by that banker. So
Absolutely.
it creates more of a passion. So I think you guys have
Yeah,
like a really
you're the
good
one.
idea there.
Yeah, you own it, and it's. I mean, like in Ultima Online when they killed Lord British. That's also a great example of emergent narrative, and it's so often unintentional. Actually, that's what wonders me a bit. I don't know if you know about Lord British death in Ultima Online.
No, I don't. I don't know if I've even.
That was the ruler of the world, basically depicting the main developer. What was his name again? Garriott.
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah, and he was unkillable, and that came in and killed that guy, that NPC, the king of the known world. And yeah, they, what they did is they implemented to the world's narrative after that, and made it an event, and everybody was shocked in the moment because they knew this couldn't happen, and it's like just a story of, oh my god, the king was killed, and not in a way like, there was this new story update and they drive the further and the king was killed, but more like, what the fuck, the king was killed.
Completely unexpected. All
Yeah,
right.
it was like, felt like it really happened, basically. Not it was crap there. It was some hacker, and then okay, they didn't just respawn. They stuck to it and went with it, and yeah, allowed it to happen, basically.
Yeah. Basically, it's just part of the story now.
Yeah,
So,
that's
go
yeah.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I think one of the things with the big games is right now that they try to please every player in a way that they try to craft a single player experience, basically, for a player. If you look at where World of Warcraft developed with every update, somehow taking more interaction between the players out, taking the possibilities to grieve out, which might be a good thing. But on the other side, you lose so much potential for stuff that just happens, and uh, people robbing each other. So I think the MMORPG side is a bit too restrictive, or too restrictive often, like limiting PvP to certain zones, or even to both people opting in to PvP, um, instead of, like, we want to do base security on getting a criminal, or having clans protect areas and executing justice. They're deciding who can kill whom, and yeah, okay, that's probably going too deep, but having a whole network of behind it, that motivates clans to play good and to try to accumulate players, and not try the evil clan that rules in a bad way, to but that acting in everybody's also, from the mechanics encouraged, basically. So it's all about building groups. What did we say? What was the term?
A social political.
Social political simulation or something like that. Is it? I think in the end.
And that actually kind of brings into my next question. How you guys were planning on working the social side, because with a giant MMO like this, you have to have some kind of economy, teams, criminal, law enforcement. How are you guys going to kind of implement that? Which is, you kind of sounds like you're going into it. Now, are they going to have teams, or how are you guys going to work that? Are you going to, like, villages, or?
Yeah, there will be the possibility to form groups, but you're not necessarily exclusive member of one group. You can be part of many groups. So probably your village has a group, then you have a crew with that you go on adventures. That might be another group, and then you are part of the group that owns the whole area, basically part of that clan. And all clans have roles. So the clan leaders can um, different levels of membership and the duties and rights each member or each role possesses. So, for example, you could completely go for a democratic model where people vote for the leaders. You could do a parliament democracy where people representatives who then vote leaders. Or you could even do a clan where you have like a lower case that will be never able to rise or to vote or whatever, but they might join your clan because you just own the territory their barn is on or whatever.
And they don't want to die,
Sometimes
right?
they want to die, or also you might offer them protection for some tax, which could easily turn to a kind of mafia structure, uh, depending on the clan. But then again, if people are too pissed off by the rulers of their region, they might rise against them, they might leave, whatever. So it's not the best thing for your clan if you want to grow to play it mafia style, basically. Better to go in a benevolent and protecting direction, because I mean, where would a level player go and settle in the empire of evil or in this nice wonderland which is affected by shiny knights?
Yeah, more than likely going to go with that one. But
Yeah,
sometimes you might not have the choice. They might. I don't know. I don't know. As
yeah,
you said,
sure.
it's the emergent narrative, and it might just play off that way where they are stuck on one side and they can't get over to that side. But
Yeah, and I mean that's part of the emergent narrative, is that thing can go really bad for you, of course. That's but I think if you want to tell a story with mechanics, you always need opposites to tell the story. So no story about wealth without poor if there are no poor in the game. There's no story about treason if no element that relies on trust. You know what I mean? You always need these opposite mechanics, so that if one is happening, the opposite can happen.
yeah, yeah, it's kind of keep the playing field level.
Yeah, 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 and also, I mean, like if I did PvP, if people can't kill each other, for example, and they are on a and they are on a raid, then I suddenly need some loot distribution mechanism, because if everybody just clicks and picks up stuff, somebody has it, I can't kill him, I can't. People are pissed, but that's putting in these barriers, like having no PvP, for example, makes you just implement the next fix, like having a system, or like in Diablo, separating loot system totally between players, just that everybody has his own loot, which is kind of feels kind of strange to me, because it's like a single player game. Why not playing a single player game then?
Yeah, yeah, and Sully actually has a really good question. This was my next question: is how are your worlds generated? I kind of already know this answer, but how are you going to create that town or that region? How is your world generated?
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's also going into the emergent narrative thing, because the world starts completely empty. So you only have terrain and nature and resources and stuff. And people arrive at the coast and start big cities themselves. So basically, every building, every city, every house is player crafted, and people will start in a quite harsh environment, because there will be no housing, no production chains, anything. That's what the experience, a type of game where they have to struggle against the environment a lot. And then in a later, there are more players, when things are more civilized, fortresses are built and everything, will quiet down a lot, and will probably move over to player versus player faction conflicts more. And so everything that is in the world in terms of buildings somehow comes from players and has a reason for being where it is. So, for example, put at some point by us, or there's a village point where you can start a village, but a village will probably develop where resources are, or where you have a position that's easily defendable. So
Just like real world.
Exactly. We want something that even there's paths developing on grass where many players walk along. If you have a path out of grass in your village and the players walk the same way a lot, then you have a muddy path there.
That's really cool, actually. I like that.
Yeah, you can really see then where people move about and what's used a lot. And when then it gets rainy, the muddy paths obviously make you slower. So the village after some time is motivated to build stone pavements or stuff like that to move faster. And yeah, so that's like how everything develops through mechanics, as I said. Like, not only build the pavement and the stone flooring because it's looking nice, probably too, but it's also just because it's more efficient. And yeah, the mechanics motivate you to act in a certain way, basically.
And I can probably come along and steal a few stones out of.
Absolutely. Now, what other type of crafting mechanism is it? Is it just like buildings and stuff, or can you craft other things? I don't think you guys answered this one to me anytime. So.
Yeah, I mean we're working on the whole animal world, and the idea there is to have like a genetic animal. So it's not that you can really see the stats of something, but let's say you tame some horses, and then you make some races with them and get a feeling that one is way faster than the other, and then you start breeding with these horses, and yeah, the genetical codes mix of the parents, and yeah, you can breed like more powerful stock, or cows that give more milk or more meat or whatever, or are more resistant to cold probably than to enter the mountain areas with some farming that's more resistant to cold. But that would be a breed that you have to develop on your own as a player or as a player group.
That's a really cool concept, actually. I like that.
I'm interested in seeing how people pick that stuff up. But the idea basically is that you as well never go on adventure. That you could as well just stay in the cities as a trader, stay in the countryside as a farmer, develop your prime livestock, or just use market imbalance and price imbalance between cities, knowledge of the markets to make some coin from that.
Use some and sell your fine crafted weaponry.
Both sides, of course.
See, I'm actually a really big builder. A lot of the games I play are like prison simulator and all that kind of stuff. So when the game gets pushed out, I'm definitely gonna be that guy that's sitting there with like a tavern or something, selling stuff to people. So I'm excited about this. Like I've told you guys this before, but we've got a question from one of the guys in chat really quick. He wants to know, does the player need to eat and possibly sleep to maintain their health?
Well, there's to explain that quickly. There's one mode when you're online. You can go to adventure mode. You can kill stuff and yeah, just do whatever you want, communicate with people, deal some trades. And then when you go offline, your character will stay in and will be simulated as a kind of bot. So basically, you have, for the time you're offline, you have your bot, and this bot is then fueled by sleep and food. So basically, if you don't have enough food and sleep, you might be able to play while you want to play in live mode, but to feed this offline economy, to have your guy like crafting swords or selling goods, working the field, which you don't need to do by clicking the field repeatedly. That's what the while you sleep, uh, and that's fueled by food. So that's another economic layer basically from playing live.
And I guess that kind of answers the question: is what happens to your character when you go offline? So basically, you just you
Yeah,
just continue as if you were there, but it's just it does what you
yeah,
want it to do essentially.
yeah. We are playing around with neural networks there, simulating some AI, and one of the ideas is to develop different AIs. We're playing around with that algorithms, which really has results, say. And the idea is to have AIs that roughly play your play style, or at least on your kill speed. So how you play offline, online determines how hardcore your AI fights, basically. So I don't know if we make it to mimic your play style. That's an interesting question, but at least mimic your DPS roughly.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's kind of a cool
yeah,
concept.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited how far we get with this. With this AI stuff, you never know. They do things you never expected them to.
Yeah, look at the Microsoft chatbot.
Yeah. Yeah, you know about that Microsoft chatbot, that story?
No, I actually don't. What is it?
They put up one with deep learning, and then people trained it by interacting with him to act like a racist teenager, basically.
Oh my god, that kind of sounds like that Eevee bot. You guys ever see that? It's fueled by questions, and it got to the point where it just talks about forgetting these people and all these type of people must die. It's and
Yes,
it's
only
ridiculous.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably a mirror of.
Certain political figures.
Yes, I mean you never know when you have an AI what
Yeah.
will happen.
Yeah.
That's
It learns too
fun
fast.
learning even for the developers in there.
So we got another really good question. Sully wants to know what the player's motivation to gain money. So say they have 1,000 gold. What do they get other than just weapons and armor?
Well, it's not even that much about money. We're discussing money a lot, and I mean, what is money? Money is a vehicle to transfer value, and that's to follow three rules. It has to be portable, non-decaying, and scarce. Or, like for example, if you have there, the money inflated to nothingness, basically. And then there were some server you told me about this, Yannick, where they used the arms,
Yeah.
which were scarce and small, to trade high level weapons. So they just started using something else as money because that other money was totally worthless. And yeah, so money is only a vehicle to transfer to somebody. And what will they get? It's items, definitely will be a lot more items. Then we have the whole farming area where you need like tools and cattle. There will be rides, animals to tame, probably also animals that accompany you, stuff like that. Lots of building, which will take a lot of time because combined with that offline play, you can just make people carry stones all of the time, but it's not like uh, you spawn a building like that, a street like that. It's really a group effort where you have to pay other players to spend their offline time to build your stone, at least for stone houses, to build them with you.
Essentially, it plays into that whole emergent narrative. You use that money for what helps you, and it kind of just goes off that,
Yeah,
right? So say
exactly.
you're paying this guy 1,000 gold to help you build your house, but he's gonna use that 500 gold to go build or go buy seed for his farm that he'll end up selling back to the player that he just
Yeah,
got. And it's a big circle of basically you build your own economy.
exactly. That brings us what we didn't mention before, the to player contracts. That will be the replacement of missions. Basically, instead of missions, you put up a note on the pinboard of the town. Okay, I need final help on my farm to bring in the harvest, and I pay you amount of X, or bring down this criminal. He robbed. I pay you whatever, half of what he has, or I don't know. You can, uh, uh, yeah, just give tasks and work to other people, and basically buy a part of their time from them, if you have money.
So basically, if you have the time, you could do everything without the money. Like you could go gather all the resources and spend the time yourself building the house. But if you want it done faster, you use that money to help speed up that process.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
You give quests to other players, basically. It's
Mm,
like you're the quest giver, and you can decide what to do with their time.
yeah. And basically, because it's a sandbox, what is really important to have is sinks. So we have to make sure that the rate of production doesn't outmatch the rate of consumption much. So basically, that's why the name will be Blossom and Decay, because everything's a cycle and everything breaks at some point, needs to be repaired, needs to be replaced. So uh, basically you might come to where you are wealthy and where it's easy for you to replace everything, but still, still there, we will work as hard as we can that there will be no inflation in the economy, that everything goes away at a fast enough rate, um, yeah, not to make it uninteresting. And then that's not the whole thing. Then we have a bigger conflict with the NPC side, with the side of evil. So there's a cyclical invasion of lots of zombies and lots of undead into the lands of the players. So you one phase where people will probably more like consolidate and or focus on their player to player conflicts, and then you have that other phase where there's loads of zombies coming at the players and they have to work together and defend the lands, and yeah, probably also stuff gets destroyed. So probably even there was this city before where all the cheap wool came from, where they had the good sheep, and the city is not existing anymore after that invasion. So the whole wool market has to consolidate and has to find new price levels and everything. So again, potential for a lot of stories to happen, a lot of narrative, basically. Um, yeah. Uh,
But yeah, no, I'm sorry. My little child was crying, so I had to take a second. But
ah,
I heard what you said. So I like that because it kind of, in a way, say you have a rival town that is, fighting for the wool market. You can go over there and take those guys out, right?
Totally.
right.
Essentially, that's what you could do. I mean, that's again the
Yeah.
emergent narrative. I have a really crazy mind. I like to think a lot into things, but essentially that could happen, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
don't
Okay.
expect easy. In other games that take this sandboxy approach, you wait for it to be late in your time zone. Nobody's online, and you go in there and get everything, crush everything to pieces, and leave. But yeah, when you have offline chars that defend their property, that's not gonna be easy. You know, they will maybe they will send you an alert or something like that. I don't know, but they will defend their property. And if you have a lot of people that have their interest in defending this property, and they all have their offline chars running around there, destroying this other market will not be easy.
No.
You have to plan this, and you might lose a lot of chars because if you don't have control there over the regions, your chars will be gone eventually.
Okay,
So,
that's another concept.
Yeah.
I think we have to explain first. Respawn points, they are also built by the players. So in the beginning, you will only respawn at the coast where players begin and build the first temples. And then as player kind advance, villages and cities will build more respawn points. Basically, you always respawn at the temple you're in that area you're in. But if you leave the temples, you go into a kind of hardcore mode, or also probably if the temples are in a hostile faction, so you might in the worst case, at least your gear. In the worst case, even your character. We're not sure yet. This will rely on balancing how we level this, but basically the idea is mankind or player has to extend as a group. Otherwise, you always, if you go too far away from settlements, you go into this hardcore mode area where it gets really dangerous, but at the same time, the good resources and the undiscovered secrets and stuff like that will be there. So there's a big motivation to go out there and scout. Also a big risk.
So I have another viewer question for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested with this, being a builder myself. For the house, do you get to customize your house with furnishings or anything like that? And I guess you kind of get to customize your character, but it's more so of the type of equipment, which can kind of lead us into one of the final questions. But you guys go and answer the first one, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, for housing, we are coming into that whole building part. Right now, we have a combat system built which just has will just have some standard houses, but the idea is to really have completely customizable houses. Basically, the idea is to have people have an architect skill, develop blueprints, and then people can build after blueprints.
Found my job.
Yeah.
I'll be an architect. And then he also wants to know. He says it seems like an extremely complex undertaking. He wants to know how many individuals are working on Blossom and Decay, and when your guys' anticipated release date is. I don't know if you guys can answer that, but
yeah, roughly, as everything.
which is okay.
Yeah, at that point. No, I mean, we're 6 people working on. 1 working on the music, 2 on graphics, 2 on code, or 1.5 on graphics, 2.5 on and 1 writer. And we're working for roughly a year on it right now. And now we all have all the basics up. So we have a quite capable server. I don't know if you can show this YouTube video we had. But we are now, our server is capable of, with a single server covering like 2,600 users logged in. And this is only 1 server, so we can cluster that and basically go infinite. We have the concepts for that. So what we were working on is getting all the basics right, getting a low latency system that can handle many players at the same time and still provide a action RP combat system, because that's also important. The combat system is really like pretty instant. I don't know, you played it. What would you say? It's quite responsive. It's not like, from in many MMORPGs where you focus an enemy and then you select an action and then it slowly starts executing stuff.
No, it's
really
really responsive. As soon as you get to that point where you know you can attack it, you attack and you're already attacking. There's no delay or wait for that to happen. So it's really cool. I got it up, and I believe this is the Archer one. If you guys want to kind of talk about different skills on here.
That's actually not the performance test one.
Oh,
yeah,
it's,
but
let's do
yeah,
it.
play
Let's
this. Yeah,
play it.
yeah.
so this is the Archer one. We'll touch on the performance in after this one. So kind of talk about the different equipment you guys you can get and what type of skills and everything like that.
Yeah, so basically the combat system skills to your character, but the skills are attached to the items you have. So, for example, the archer has a certain attack skill and a certain X skill. The X fighter has a certain X skill, a stun attack. Or if you wear a heavy armor, you have a different movement skill from wearing a cloak. So skill is dependent on the equipment you're wearing, and you can change your skill setup pretty fast and have also some fun in not only playing one class like for 900 levels, but just change your play style and about adapting, because there are certain item combinations that are really good against certain players, enemy types, or against certain other item combinations. So as you can see from the video, it's really based on a action real-time hit area system and not a targeting system like in many MMORPGs. And that's also one of the challenges, was to get a system that's both fun and balanced in PvE as well as PvP. And I think from playing it, I think we are there, and we release that combat demo soon to have players and testers back and improve it based on that further. So what you can see there is actual combat from the demo. What do we have? Heavy armor against light armor, and the X fighter is using some stun attack. That's I need a professional commentator for these fights. I think some WE or whatever it is.
We got another question from Solo. If you guys want to answer those, we can leave this playing so they can kind of see how it's going. And we got a couple other ones that we can pop up. He's got a couple questions here. We can answer them one by one. He wants to know, will the world be just one server?
Technically, it will be multiple servers. From what the users feel, it will be one server basically. So one world, you can walk without a single loading screen from basically one time around the world, and it passes you on between servers from the technology side, but will be one large thing. And at the same time, what's important, I think, to mention is from the mechanics, what we also removed is all types of quick travel and teleportation stuff. You either travel with a group of people while you're online or offline, or you travel on your own. But we have space to be relevant in the game, because I always had the feeling that in many MMORPGs there's teleportation, there's portals to cities, because traveling is no fun in itself. and it's just to remove an annoying activity instead of making it not annoying, basically. And I mean, still we have the offline mode, so you could travel while doing that, but gives space real relevance. Like, you're not necessarily the strongest player everywhere, but you're the strongest player in this valley, for example, or the richest guy in this valley. And yeah, well, it needs to be moved around. Every good needs to be moved around. So there might be the silver city where silver is really cheap, but you have to move it very far places where there's no silver and where you can sell it for more money, and you can get robbed all the time on the path to that places.
Hence comes the bandits and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
that kind of answers his next question. You want to know how large the world's going to be. I'm sorry, did I interrupt someone? I'm sorry.
No, no. What was the question?
You guys kind of answered it. But he just want to know how large the world is going to be. But essentially, it's just
Yeah.
if you wanted to walk all the way around the world, how long do you think it would take? I'll put it that way.
A few years.
I think a couple of years. Yeah.
Like real time, like real world. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's because I mean we're working on really nice ways to generate the world, and I mean even if we would save everything that we generate would be possible, but we are working on ways like probably know from No Man's Sky, where you can also generate the world at a certain place. You just put in an X and a Y coordinate in a kind of formula or in a kind of function, and it gives you back the elevation and plants and whatever you have at that space. So you don't even necessarily need to save the whole. So we can really go, yeah, as I say, you might, if you go straight walking, you might walk for hundreds of days, if not thousands, if you until you surround the whole world.
The server world, I mean, if you're in Asia, you will join a server in Asia, but you'll be able to walk to a server in Europe. These will be connected over the world. You can circle the world and walk from server to server, and this you will get pushed over to the Europe server and maybe do trading there. But I mean, if you have to travel a few years in real time, this will be a large travel, and yeah, it maybe never happen, but it can happen, and yeah, this is something that people can do. For example, in the game, travel the world.
I mean, in one direction, the world will be like 4 billion tiles, so that's what you have to work.
Holy cow.
And what was it per second? Like 4 tiles per second is maximum move speed, and 4 billion, so 1 billion. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
That's crazy though.
Looking at yeah, I mean, let's see if we get that populated with players, but you have to start at the right scale. Speaking of scale, what you have, the video you're running right now, that's spawning, what was it? 1,600 players spawning on the server and being on one screen.
Yeah, we are at about 800 players there, I guess. Still
they're spawning in.
And yeah, you can see it's running quite fluent, and we're hitting a few hundreds at one time. And yeah, you can. It's not like in WoW that you have to wait for every frame about 10 seconds or what. It just runs. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome, actually.
So you can imagine like this in form of zombies and form of real of huge armies.
Oh my
coming
God!
at you, or even,
I don't want to imagine that.
like soldiers trying to run this triangle there in formation, but they get disturbed and they always go back into this triangle kind of.
I mean, they will not overlap like this in the end, but that was just also to get them on one screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, now they reorganize.
Yeah, now they're very orderly again.
And I mean, this is simulating real players. There's another server that logs in as real player and gives messages like real players.
So we have really 2,000 connections open, like there were 2,000 players connected.
Yeah.
Now there are 1,600 players in this triangle.
Yeah, and as the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as they say, it's the little glittering you see right now is probably the video or in the client. It's definitely not the server. No, I think it's even the video.
I think it's actually. I don't think it's. I'm watching it like real life.
Oh,
I think you guys are watching it on Twitch, and I think it's the Twitch that's not working it very well. So.
Yeah. I mean, if we stop, it was the client basically, because you don't need more than 1,000 realistically. But let's see where we can take this.
Absolutely.
Customized code. Yeah. Just to show a bit of the performance we can do.
All right. So he has a couple more questions that we'll hit, and then we'll move on to kind of like the last bit, where we'll go into a little bit depth in the combat system of how essentially your leveling up works, because I know that's kind of a huge monster within itself, which is not a bad thing. So he wants to know, can the player pick the region that they're going to be spawning in, or is it just the server thing? And you guys answered that question, the last one, which is it a huge world or will it be procedurally generated and have infinite boundaries, which is yes.
Yeah. Definitely. And the first question, sorry.
The first question is, will the player, when they initially spawn, will they be able to pick what region? So say the north region is a highly populated area. There's lots of players there. There's a large city in that area. Can you spawn on that coastline? Is it completely random, or is it just per your server?
No, it's definitely, you will at least be able to decide where on the coast you, just to bring you together with probably friends you want to play with, and not having you walk for a month until you meet your friends. We're thinking about also being able, when you create a character, to create it in any village or a city.
So if like a friend has a village, you can spawn in their village.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an adventure to get the new guy to your city as well. So that's what makes me think about it. So depends a bit on how far distances are then and how annoying it is. But I think it's also kind of an adventure for a new player to travel to his friends, if that's not too far.
Yeah.
And if his friends are far inland, the region will be anyway too hardcore for him to start, so better.
I mean, I started as a new character as a night elf, and I was new to the game. So my friends came over from Ironforge, and they basically brought me by foot as a level 7 char all the way to Ironforge. One of the greatest adventures for me was like, I got everything on the wolf dog, my companion, everything. So this was the best thing of the game, actually.
Yeah.
And I want to say I was annoyed when I got this Griffin, because play any role anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the most damaging thing at WoW was the introduction of flying mounts. This basically the open world PvP, because no one was on the street, no one was on the roads anymore. You cannot jump people anymore because they just fly away, or people jump you from the sky and out of nothing, and that's it. I mean, these are mechanics that are introduced, and they just kill stuff that is great. You know, if this is not the focus on the game.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's often when you see this emergent stuff happening, it's often not intentional or not. Yeah, the games are not really crafted to tell these narratives. It's really like players seek for it and try to generate it at times when um yeah, but it's just not focused. Yeah. Um, One example, if we have the time, uh, is from Anarchy Online. There was a certain rock in a city in Borealis. It's a really old MMO, and that jump height was pretty much connected to the level you had. So only high levels were able to jump on that rock or something. And that shack or rock developed naturally to a kind of tribune where the rich and wealthy sat upon, just because this jump height mechanic was connected to this thing being in the middle of the town, and was never meant by the designers to be that. It was totally natural. When you needed a high level buff, you went to that rock, and there you got it. Stuff like that. It's just happening,
Yeah,
emerging, and
it just
like
became that.
yeah, it became this aristocrat high level tribune where they looked down upon the masses and uh, shared a buff or two with the low levels. Yeah, I mean, we try to ask in any mechanic that we build into the game, we ask like, what story can this mechanic, or what story might it enable? And that's the whole focus in designing the sandbox behind the game, to have these stories enabled by every bit in the game, basically,
Yeah.
and having everything based on intrinsic motivation of the player, and rather than telling him do this, do that, collect 10 wolf fur.
You have it with a wolf. Or...
I hate. That's the point. I quit an MMO when I get to collect 10 wolf fur. I quit. I just Alt F4 rage quit and deinstall the game.
That's the metric.
But yeah, let's go into the combat system.
Combat.
So we've been
Yeah.
watching a lot on the actual stream itself. We've had a couple of your displays of how the combat system works. Let's talk about the items you have and how they play an effect of what your player is.
Okay. So basically, by now, we have 4 weapons, 4 armors, and 4 helmets. And we're gonna extend this. There will be strings. There will be a offhand slot. But we're working on this bit by bit, and now have to balance that first part. And 4 weapons are the axe that you can see right now, that has it's medium and everything, like range, damage, and everything. And as a special attack, it has a stun strike where you can stun people for some seconds. So it's a nice weapon for PvP assassinations, for example. Then we have the hammer, which does more damage, is slower, and stuns the enemy on hit for a short time. That you can see that on the other guy there. Then there's a staff, which is a good defensive weapon, and a crossbow that shoots arrows. And yeah, all of these bring their own special skill. Like the crossbow has a triple shot, the hammer has a stomp or bounce attack where you push everything away from you in all directions, and the staff has a kind of beam of light where you do lots of AoE and push away enemies. And same with the armors, like the leather, the dash skill where you can move pretty fast and also combine your strike with it. so extend the range basically. The heavy armor runs over enemies and damages them. The priest armor or the priest robe can teleport, and cloak can actually cloak you, which is also real fun in PvP. It's just like the enemy goes invisible and you know it's time to run. Yeah, we also have some enemies that do that. It's scary, definitely.
Yeah, they're nasty.
Not knowing where they're at.
And then the helmets, they give you a passive. So, for example, the golden ring, I think we haven't had it in the video, that gives you a heal aura that surrounds you. And the other helmet gives you more armor, or one gives you more damage. And that's basically how you get to the classes, by different combinations of these weapons. So, for example, if you take the invisibility robe and the hammer, you might go for a like build where you sneak up to enemies, deal heavy damage, and then pull out again. Or you might play a healer with the healing as a caster class with the staff, or you might combine it with heavy armor and hammer and have a kind of paladin that is close to the fronts and still healing his the other teammates around him, stuff like that. So basically classes and based on which combination of equipment you decide to wear at that point.
Yeah, see, we change a lot of these items on the way down and build our play style on the way down, and then change stuff and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, everybody can craft his own play style by choosing his equipment.
Yeah, and that gets even more intense when like the offhand weapons come in, where you have shields to defend yourself, or a hook Zelda style where you can pull people towards you or pull yourself from some object if you throw it at that. So we're going to see a lot more of variations. And I mean, only having these 3x4 items, you 64 possible combinations. Not all of them might make sense. Some of them are extremely strong against specific types of item combinations or NPCs, undead. So yeah, it's really like crafting and playing around with these possibilities to find your favorite play style or styles.
What we can already observe is that people are basically adapting the items and that fit their play style, and kind of people who want to be fast and keep moving and so on, they choose a light and give you movement, while people who like to be in the fight and choose a close fight, they go for the heavy armor and prefer this fighting style. And there are other people who sometimes also make weird combinations. Yeah.
Like this guy with a leather helmet, super body armor, and a staff, but you know. But yeah, no, I noticed that too. Right away, I found the leather armor, and I found the axe, and I was right there in the fight, and I kept hitting you guys, and you guys kept shooting me with arrows, but you know, no big deal.
Constantly, there's no friendly fire off option or anything, so people will really have to play careful, and playing together as a group is only good if as good as the members of the group, basically. Yeah. It can also be a danger for your companions, or depending on play style. And
I'm still sorry for all the arrows that hit you before that.
I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you.
It wasn't directed at you personally.
Sure.
Who killed the cat?
One of you guys did. It wasn't me. But yeah, guys.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, is there anything else you guys really want to touch on that I might have missed? Because I really want to take this time to kind of highlight the outstanding type of game it is. So, anything at all you guys want to talk about?
If there isn't more questions, I mean, yeah, okay, we covered that you go into a offline mode and play. We covered the combat system. No, I think we have covered most of it.
When are you guys
There's
looking
no
at
questions.
making? I guess beta is probably a bad term, but like the open beta feel to allow
I
people
didn't
to
answer that question
intentionally.
at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
No, not unintentionally. Just you remember me. I went on a ramble and just
No, no,
lost it.
it's okay.
No, I mean, released the combat demo in, I don't know, in a couple of months. I'd say it's really shortly before finished, but it's these last 20% that take percent of the effort, and yeah, we are now in final three or whatever. When you, yeah, we want to be finished, but we don't get there because there's this polishing and that little bug, and I don't know. So I'd say combat demo in mostly at most a couple of months,
Okay.
and for the whole or the whole sandbox part, it's really hard to say. It also depends on if we get some funding on the way, if we can dedicate ourselves really full time to the project, which will speed up things a lot. But
You guys are greenlit, right?
no, not yet.
Not yet.
Not
All
yet.
right. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure people will go check that out. It's a voting thing, right? You have to.
But we are not yet on Greenlight. We put it on Steam as a concept by now.
I know, but how do
But
we get you greenlit? Is what I'm trying to ask. Is because Greenlight
that's
allows you guys to be on Steam, right? It's like the
yeah,
okay.
yeah. We gonna go there as one of the next steps. We're not really advanced in all that marketing stuff. It's more like building the game, and yeah, when we have time, we tweet about it, and yeah, that's one of the things on the list. But always when we have time, we go back to building game and just
Oh,
like
abs-
implement the little thing instead of doing what we should do and talk about it more.
I mean, you guys are making an outstanding game, and you guys are taking the time to make sure it gets to where it needs to be, which I completely understand. So
To answer the question, I think at most a year, and then we have something balanced. No, next year. Let's say next year. Yeah. Uh-huh. Inside of next year.
inside of next year, perfect. Because I really want to get you guys back on the show when you guys get a little bit closer to completion. Hell, I don't care. We can get you guys on every week. I like talking to you guys. I like talking about this game. So you let me know when you guys want to get on again, when you guys want to, talk about new features, and I'd be more than happy to kind of help you guys along that line. I know
Definitely.
I'm not a big by any means, and I'm not gonna be the guy that helps you guys become rich and
No, but
famous, but
and it's really a part of everybody, and I think it's not about size. It's about just getting into it. Yeah, then
For us, your show is the biggest show so far. So thank you very much.
no, of course I appreciate that, and I definitely want to be here helping you guys as much as possible. So you can expect to see lots of retweets from me. So,
yeah,
where are you guys exactly stationed? I know there's lots of people all over. I'm in Wiesbaden, and I think it'd be kind of cool to meet up with you guys sometime. I don't know if that's something you guys would be down for, but
I
it'd be
live
kind of.
in mine.
You live in Mines? Oh wow, okay. So it's
just over the river from you, basically.
so I think that'd be kind of cool. Let's check you guys out. I mean, I don't know
Definitely.
what
Yeah,
exactly we
yeah.
would do, but
Yeah, Goran is usually in Hong Kong, but he's right now in Frankfurt. So I live in Frankfurt, and then the other guys are in New York and San Francisco. So
So for people who know around, we are.
Absolutely. But yeah, guys, I mean, unless there's anything else you want to hit, we'll go ahead and end the podcast. We're hitting about the hour and like
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. But yeah, as soon as I get this up, it'll probably be in about 2-3 days. And I'll send you guys the link, and you guys
Yes.
spread this everywhere.
Definitely.
Thanks for being on the show, guys. I really do appreciate it. This is a pretty big moment for both of us. Me having my
Yeah.
first, game developers on the show, and you guys, talking about it.
Our
So.
first interview about the game.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'll go ahead and end the stream now. Just to fair warn you, I do a little bit weird. I don't have actual outro music, so I kind of hum music, just so you guys understand why I'm humming after I do the outro. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It kind of helps us grow. None of these videos are monetized, so we're not making money. We just want to get our name out there and be known. So check out these guys. All their links are going to be in the description. As soon as they get some kind of a GoFundMe, that will also be in the description. And I will see you guys on the flip side.